businesses, they work in the clinic, they keep up the water system, the electrical system, the telephone system. They have people who are trained as software troubleshooters that work in a computer lab, and on and on. This is basically a full employment community. I went in and talked to the tribal accountant about a year ago, and I said, what would you estimate the unemployment rate is down here? And I'd say it's about 0. Anybody who wants a job here, we can give them one. And that's, the Havasupais are used to taking care of themselves, and they prefer that. So wage labor puts food on the table, but for those who don't want to be part of the wage economy, tourism. People who have stock, animals, horses, bring visitors down, they bring in equipment and supplies, adds to family resources. But being a horsebacker isn't a picnic. It's hard work, it's dangerous work, you can get hurt, you can lose fingers, you've got to keep the horses up. There's not forage enough in the canyon to feed them, so you have to pack feed in for the horses. I learned to do this myself, and got myself into an embarrassing situation once. When you pack feed onto the horses when you're coming down the switchbacks, the load keeps moving forward until you get to the bottom, and you have to retie it and everything. And so I retied it, got on my horse, started down the canyon, and pretty soon I met a pretty tourist lady, and she's trudging along in the heat, and she says, would you carry my backpack? And me being the hero on the horse, I said, sure. And I told her I'd leave it out in front of my house when she came through the village, so I put it on the saddle behind me and started down the trail. And after about a half mile or so, I thought, this is getting clumsy to hold this thing, so I got off the horse, I put the pack down beside me, and I was going to tie it onto the saddle. Well, the pack fell over. So I leaned over, couldn't quite reach the pack, so I set the reins down, and the horses took off with my hand all the feed. And they managed to buck it all off, and it was a while before I left that one down. So this almost makes ends meet. Not quite in the beginning, so the women stepped in to fill the gaps. And the artistry of the women was so sought after. It had been for hundreds of years the Hopis had sought after Havasupai baskets for ceremonial purposes. And you can see some of the most beautiful examples of them up at the Kolb exhibit. And with the coming of tourism to Grand Canyon, this really took off. And these women really added to the family's income and the family's well-being. Here we have Carolyn Putzloy holding a basket that she made for a congressman. These baskets now are very hard to come by. There are still 12 active basket makers, about what there always have been. And when people make baskets there, they're usually already ordered by museums or somebody who's got a lot of money. Okay. Transportation and nutrition. Well, these two are pretty tightly connected in a place as remote as this, because by choice, the Havasupai pack their food in by horse. This means that getting fruit in is okay. You can get fruit in okay. Pack it in those big telescoping fruit boxes. Meat, the grocery suppliers, we call them up, have them freeze it hard, put it in those telescoping fruit boxes. By the time it makes it to the village, it's still pretty well frozen. Fresh vegetables is another matter. They're hard to get down there. And then once you get down there, depends on how you pay. If you're going to pay people by the pound, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get lots of cases of soda pop. If you pay people by the load, well, you'll get lots of potato chips and cereal. So sometimes the store has to specify what it'll pay for. If they want cans of soup down there, they say we're not going to pay for anything but cans of soup. And notice in the background the broken windows. A lot has been made of that, and I need to explain that. First of all, in the public area, in December of 2005, there were some young people that got obstreperous and went on a window breaking spree, and they own money to fix those windows. These windows are now fixed. But in the cafe, when we built the cafe, we made a big miscalculation. We put great big windows across the front of the whole building, and I don't think we'll ever do that again. Because once those windows get broken, they are really expensive to fix. And I was at a tribal council meeting where the tribal accountant informed the council that to fix those windows was going to cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000. And that building is getting on to 35 years old, and the tribe wants to replace it. So I don't think they'll be replacing those windows that's covered in with plastic film until the building can be replaced. When private individuals break their windows, it can be a long time to get them fixed, because are you going to hire a helicopter to bring down painted glass? I don't think so. You're not going to bring it down on a horse because it isn't going to make it. So what you do is you wait, and you wait, and you wait until there's hundreds of pounds of glass that's got to come down, and then you might get your windows fixed. And that might take months, it might take years. So glass windows are a problem down there. And if you get the glass down there, we don't have a glass cutter down there. I mean, one that cuts it real nice. So if you get a pane of glass that's an inch off, you're SOL. The big change came in the middle 60s, and that was when we decided to build new houses. With new houses, we had to get all the big pieces down there. Big roof trusses, bales of shingles, indoor plumbing, electricity. And the first houses, these houses, had problems. Those are composition fiberboard, chipboard walls. They worked fine. They were designed for Phoenix living, and they worked fine in Phoenix. It's a lot of humidity in that, so pretty soon those walls are delaminating and the floors are caving in. So they had to redesign them. And it's interesting when I look at this picture now, I can still name everybody in this picture. This is a very close-knit community. And when our daughter was about 2 years old, we were traveling across the country once, and we're going through Missouri and far back from the highway, sitting in this big grand house, and our daughter's about 2 years old, and she says, "Who lives there?" I said, "I don't know." Her jaw dropped. It was a totally novel concept to her. She'd never heard of not knowing somebody. Well, with construction came the helicopter. Originally, there was talk of building a tramway to haul these things down on cable cars down the cliffs. Everybody was horrified. This was going to make an amusement park out of Havasu. In retrospect, maybe it wouldn't have been such a bad idea. The helicopters started flying in the roof trusses, and they came in, and they came in, and they came in. And tons of material. Okay. Well, that progressed to bringing in transformers, water pipes, vehicles, backloaders, and front loaders, backhoes, visitors. Now helicopters fly 5 days a week, bringing visitors and Havasupais in and out, because the landing agreements that the tribe has signed with the helicopter companies say that Havasupais can fly for a discount rate. And it sure does beat walking. But it's very noisy and dusty, and it's right in the middle of town. Well, with indoor plumbing, and a lot of people were hesitant about indoor plumbing in the beginning. People said, "I don't want a toilet in my house, that's dirty." But soon we had indoor plumbing, we had sewage, we had electricity. With electricity came electrical appliances. And then pretty soon you're dependent on electrical appliances and electrical heating. And when the electricity goes out, guess what? Not only do you not have any electrical appliances, but you don't have any running water. Because because now they're getting their water no longer